I'm Christy.
And I'm Kathy.
And this is The Psychic
And the Skeptic. Welcome back to The Psychic and the Skeptic. And on this episode, we're exploring a phenomenon that sits right on the boundary between neuroscience and mystery. Lucid dreaming.
Now, let's see. You guys going to be on Team Psychic or Team Skeptic on this one? My opinion?
I got neuroscience behind me.
I'm telling you, this is a real phenomenon.
But it doesn't take a brain surgeon to understand it.
That's true. All across the world, there is just tons of people who have experienced lucid dreaming. And we'll get more into that here in just a bit. But
yes,
I'm excited for this episode.
Right. And I truly believe lucid dreaming exists.
Oh, wow.
In the
Can
sense
you say that again?
That people have lucid dreams. So it's a state where you're aware that you're dreaming.
Right.
And that's a real thing.
And you can control a lot of times what's going on in your dream.
Right. Because your consciousness is alert.
Correct. If you're having a dream about the apocalypse and you've got all these flesh-eating zombies that are chasing you, you can turn around and stop and say, listen, not today, Satan. Not today.
And there's a logical explanation to why we're even having dreams like that, too.
Watching too many shows like The Walking Dead or something. You know?
Yeah, memory, attachment to memory and what you've seen and what you know. Your dreams can tap into your memory, yeah.
But as you and I both know how the brain works, if you are watching something right before you go to bed, your brain sometimes can focus in on that latest thing and then incorporate that into your dream.
It's what's in your short-term memory.
Correct.
As you go through the night, you take your short-term memory and you start storing it into your long-term memory. So your brain is resting up and cleansing itself, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in that later half of the night during the REM sleep that we're sorting through our day and our memories and the recent things in our short-term memory and starting to place it into our long-term memory for recall later. So that's where we're experiencing all of that as our brain's sorting through all of the thoughts.
Right. That's Psychology 101, folks.
And neurology as well.
That is true. Can you imagine, because I'm with my degree in psychology and stuff, and then also having the gifts. Can you see how conflicting that could be?
I love this dichotomy that we have, though, because we're both open to the paranormal. You take a psychic approach and a psychology approach, and I take a neurology approach and a nursing approach. That nursing is my background as well, with a lot of experience in seizures and
epilepsy,
neuroscience and epilepsy, as well as having been a professor on that topic as well. So there's a deeper understanding from both sides. So I'm really excited about this topic. I feel like it's a short topic for me. It was pretty easy to explain, but there's stories that we're going to go through. And
cases. Because, we're history nerds, both of us.
Yes. You got to love history.
Oh, yeah.
We learn from history. History establishes so much for us.
Yeah. It's like looking back where you've come from, no matter what country that you're in, even your family. And of course, I have a teaching background as well. And so social studies, that history, that was my area of expertise as well. So can't leave out the history.
Right. And we have the benefit of hindsight when it comes to history. And we know how things turn out and where, like you were saying, where we came from so that we can learn and be prepared going forward with our experiences.
Don't make the same mistakes. Don't let history repeat itself in a bad way.
Right. Now, before we get too deep into the episode, we have done previous episodes on a similar topic, the topic of sleep. We've talked about dream visitations and we've covered astral projection.
Correct.
And so where some confusion may fall in the overlap between all of that. So we're specifically talking about conscious awareness of dreams and maybe some paranormal that goes along with it. So then what's the difference between astral projection and lucid dreaming?
So lucid dreaming itself is just like we mentioned before. It's when you have that state of becoming aware within your dream, you know what's going on, you're able to control some things. But astral projection is believed to be when your soul, your consciousness, is separated from your physical body and you can travel. You can go places. Two different things, kind of similar, but two different things.
Okay, so really the only difference is leaving your body, but in lucid dreaming, you're still picturing yourself outside of sleep.
Not necessarily. With lucid dreaming, you're still connected to that body, right? You're still in it. You're
So you're
just,
aware you're sleeping. So it's almost
yes,
like sleep paralysis.
I guess in a way, your mind is still going. Your body
Mhm.
is not, but your mind is still going, and you can control your dream. I have heard of some people say in lucid dreams they were able to travel. They could do some things like flying, going other places and meeting other souls, or traveling to different realms. But
Yeah,
I've
I
always
think
known
that
that
might
as
have been,
astral projection.
yeah, that sounds like the difference is a different plane, not this world, a different world versus you're dreaming in this world,
Right.
in your current life versus
Mm-hmm.
another lifetime or place or plane.
Correct.
Okay, that's hard to wrap my brain around
Yeah.
because you have to have a belief in things like other planes and other times and other lifetimes, I guess. So let's talk about what's normally happening when we're dreaming, just review and wrap our brains around it.
Right. It sounds
So,
like this one's really got your brain warped,
yeah,
Kathy.
it does. 'Cause, yeah, I guess so.
Scientific brain is deflating, folks.
Some of it just doesn't make sense.
That scientific side of you just it can't comprehend it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, a little bit. So there's different stages of sleep, and we may have covered this before, but just as a quick review, you have an early stage of sleep where you're conscious, but you're falling asleep. And then you go into a light sleep stage, and that's very brief before you go into deep sleep. So conscious awareness and your body is in total rest at this point. That's earlier in the night. If you're getting a full 8 hours of sleep,
Mm-hmm.
that first half of the night is spent in and out of your light sleep and your deep sleep, and with an occasional brief awake period that's not long enough for you to be aware that you are awake. It's the last half of the night where we get into that REM sleep. So your body gets recovery in the first half, and if you're getting up at 2:30
3:30
in the
like
morning
me?
like our friend Jill, hi Jill, if you went to bed late, you may not have gotten that last portion of the night's sleep, in that REM stage is where your brain then gets the rest. That's why you're not thinking clearly. You're in like a mental fog
That's
when
what's
you
wrong
don't
with me
get that full
today.
8 hours of sleep, or you have a hard time remembering things because your brain didn't get that time to sort all of your thoughts during that REM sleep. So that REM is really where you get a lot of that recovery. That's your dream stage of sleep. So it stands for rapid eye movement because our bodies are basically paralyzed during that time. Most of our body are inhibitory neurotransmitters,
Ooh, that's a big word.
which is a chemical that tells our nerve cells to relax. That's what makes our body paralyzed during sleep. And most of our voluntary muscles are in a paralysis state, so they can't move.
If not, we would beat ourselves up in our dreams.
Right, correct. That's very protective for us so that we don't get hurt while
Mm-hmm.
our consciousness is at rest and we're not aware of our surroundings. During REM, the visual parts of your brain are highly active, and your emotional center, which we call that the amygdala, this is that emotional center or your threat detector in your brain. That's where a lot of your dreams are coming from, that imagination and your emotions and how you react to what you're dreaming. But the logic part, or that self-reflective part of your brain, that's that frontal cortex, is suppressed. It's less active. This is why your dreams seem normal to you at the time, because your logic part of your brain isn't really functioning. It's resting at that point. So what's happening is an overlap occurs. That prefrontal cortex is becoming more and more active, and your awareness is awake during a lucid dream. So part REM sleep is occurring and part consciousness is occurring. Sometimes this happens to people in sleep paralysis, where your body is starting to wake up before your dream state has finished.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of stuck in that in between. We know for sure neurologically that's what's happening in lucid dreaming, and that's why it's a real thing.
Right.
But from the psychic or metaphysical viewpoint, there's theory that other things are happening.
They can happen. Yes, they can. You can have those spirit visitations. Now, some people say, why do we dream? So, lots of different reasons. Some, according to theorist Sigmund Freud, which, he's kind of a little weird guy, even for his day, but he did have some good points on some things, not all, some. But it's to fulfill our subconscious wishes, like things that we want to happen for our life. We can dream about those. Also, we dream about things that are scary or things that bother us because those are fears or issues, that these anxieties that we haven't dealt with. So when our brain is going through this stage of refresh, it will bring those issues to surface as a way to remind you, hey, you still got to deal with this. Also, things are brought forward because it keeps us aware and remembering how we need to do certain things. So it's a certain memory process that will occur. It's like riding a bike. You do it enough times, it becomes a habit. This is another reason why.
Okay, when we talk about sleep paralysis, which is very similar to this lucid dreaming, you could put them both together because of neurologically what's happening with the brain is very similar. The amygdala, that threat detector, is highly active for people who experience sleep paralysis. So
Yeah.
in lucid dreaming, it's your amygdala that makes you focus on those fears, those things like shadows and intruders and demons and ghosts.
Right. We also have to keep our brains working. It's just like it would be a computer, again, as a reference, in order to be able to create these long-term memories,
Right. Sorting of your thoughts in REM sleep.
Oh, exactly. And those fears that you're talking about, those anxieties, we dream about these dangerous and threatening situations because it's a way that our brain tells us, hey, you can practice how to correct this. You can practice these survival skills. For example, PTSD, people with that disorder, there is a trick that you take your most fearful moment, something that's really bothering you, creating this stress or this trauma. Say a person went to war and there's a certain area like they're reliving that again, but they dream about it every night. They could take that and they could rewrite it to where they are either the hero of it or they're conquering it in some way. And you read that 3 times right before you fall asleep. And that's a way of telling your brain, hey, process this new information, fix this. It's a way of correcting that trauma.
And
it works.
changing your emotional response to that.
Correct.
That's an interesting, I would say, coping mechanism for our brains to do that.
And
help
our
us
brains
cope
are
and
amazing.
practice. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Right.
Did you know that we also dream to heal ourselves? We know that the body heals, right? So when
Right.
you're sleeping,
It's recovery. Yeah.
exactly.
So maybe this is an emotional recovery.
Yes, in a sense, you've got these neurotransmitters in the brain, way less active during that REM cycle of sleep. And so scientists believe that when a person dreams, again, going back to what I explained about PTSD, you can take the edge off those painful experiences, right? And these type of healing dreams allow our bodies to have less anxiety, less just mental stress overall, and also solving problems. Believe it or not, our brains can solve problems when we sleep. That is, to me, the brain is just,
AI.
it's amazing. Yes. But your mind can go in when you're dreaming and it can create these limitless scenarios to help us understand a problem or come up with some sort of solution that we couldn't come up with when we're awake. So great ideas come when you're sleeping. Even Stephen King, the well-known author, did you know that a lot of his movies, his books, come from his dreams?
I think I heard that. Yeah, that sounds familiar now.
That
I'm
dude's
pulling
got
that out of my long-term memory.
Yeah, and that dude's got a scary mind, let me tell you.
Yeah, he's got quite an active amygdala.
Yes, he does.
So the key characteristics for lucid dreaming, just to kind of recap here and get our brains back in order, we have conscious awareness. So that's the primary feature of lucid dreaming. It's the realization that you're in a dream, and this distinguishes it from regular dreaming or simply remembering a dream when you wake up. And the reason you remember dreams when you wake up is because you had a rapid movement out of REM sleep into wakefulness. So it's right there in your short-term memory where you can grab it. And then there's dream control, which is awareness that leads to a sense of control or a sense of agency that allows the dreamer to potentially change what's going on in your dream, change the narrative. It helps you to interact. So this is like, I don't know, I'm not somebody who has ever experienced lucid dreaming, but I have had dreams where I woke up and I'm like, I just want to go back to sleep and like
Go back
find out
into
what
the dream.
happens or fix it. Or
Yes, I have too. Did you know also, while I'm thinking of it, so I don't forget to bring it in, that when we dream, and we talked about this in our dream visitation. So if you're really into dreams, you should go back and listen to that. They take that time to communicate with us whenever we dream, because our subconscious mind is wide open. And our breathing, our heart rate, everything physical slows way down. But spirits use that as a time to come in and say, hey, I got to tell you something, right?
yeah, I
Like
can see
show
that
you something.
vulnerability, the vulnerable state,
Mhm.
theoretically.
Yes, because your mind is not occupied and blocked
Sure.
by the hustle and bustle
Maybe
of
that's
every
why
day.
hauntings happen at night for people, like
Could be.
they're in their room and they're trying to sleep.
One of the hardest things for me, I will say, when I was learning to use my gifts was to put up protection when I would go to sleep. Because I would wake up and have visitors beside my bed or see something. And finally I got where I got better control of that. But that was one of the hardest things for me. But
So
anyway,
you're saying the paranormal connection here with lucid dreaming is the visitation from spirit when you're in that open dream state.
yeah, I mean, it can be. It's not all that, but it
Uh-huh.
definitely can be for sure. Yes.
So lucid dreams have to happen during that REM because that's when you are dreaming. So that rapid eye movement sleep stage. And there's a lot of brain activity that's going on there. So if you've ever seen anybody with a electroencephalography, an EEG, with the wires that are connected to their
Mhm.
scalp, you can watch the brain activity while somebody's sleeping. You can tell what stage of sleep they're in by looking at their brainwaves. But there's some benefits to lucid dreaming because it helps foster creativity. It helps you, like you said, work through problems, and it can help you overcome nightmares.
Mhm.
It's probably just that sense of control and having control over things that we normally don't have control over.
Right.
And that creates a lot of anxiety for people. So
And
this is a
stress.
great opportunity to address that.
Absolutely.
So a functional MRI scan is where we can place somebody into a specialized magnetic resonance imaging machine to look at how the brain is functioning while someone's awake. So it's showing the oxygen saturation of the blood in certain parts of the brain. And they can pinpoint certain areas when they're in a dream state or when their emotions are active, just by seeing what parts of the brain are lighting up under this functional MRI scan.
That's interesting.
And it began with this study in 2012 where they had participants clench their fists while they were awake to identify the part of the brain that's active when they do that. And then participants were asked to dream about clenching their fists. So then they scanned them while they were sleeping, and the same areas were able to light up. So they knew that the movement part of your brain was active during dreaming, but you still had the paralysis from those inhibitory neurotransmitters, keeping the body from acting out those movements. So it really just confirms that this is a possibility from a neuroscience viewpoint.
Wow, folks, and you heard it. It is a possibility.
But is paranormal activity occurring? That's where we
Did you
differ.
know, though, that 20 to 30% of our world's population are lucid dreamers?
That's
That's
interesting.
a lot of people.
So I wonder if some people just think it's normal to
I'm
have a
sure.
lucid dream, because I don't recall if maybe once or twice, but it's not a common thing for me.
Do you want to know how people can tell if they're lucid dreaming or not?
You remember your dream and that you were interacting in it?
Before one can lucid dream, you have to tell yourself that you're dreaming before you actually fall asleep. And then when you're in the dream, you have to tell yourself, I'm dreaming. See?
So you could train yourself to do that?
Yeah, actually, people have. I've done a lot of research on this. There's many people who do practice so they can lucid dream and control their dreams. So
Why would you want to control your dream?
someone with a lot of trauma. Again, I'm going to go back to
Oh,
that
right,
mental
right. The
health
training.
standpoint,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
Someone with a lot of trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and that trauma reoccurs through dreams.
Right.
You can heal that trauma, right? You can get rid of that trauma
Or
by rewriting
what about
that.
recurring nightmares? Can you change the...
Yes, it's the same. Yes,
That's cool.
changing the reoccurring nightmares. Also, people, they can lucid dream because they want to expand those boundaries. They want to see how far out that they can go. Have you ever noticed how you never get killed in a dream? Or you're like on top of the situation, or right before you get killed, you wake up,
Right.
or the dream ends. So that's like a perk too. If you're lucid dreaming, you could control that as well. So now,
Wait, but if that's always the outcome, why would you need to control your
no, you can
survivability?
control yourself from being killed or seeing a part, because some people can't go past the death state, right? They can't see themselves being killed. It's not a reality because it's never happened.
Yeah.
So with lucid dreamers, they can go all the way through it if they want, or they can also stop it.
Mm-hmm.
See, whereas some people couldn't.
So lucid dreaming has been proven scientifically, and it started in the 1980s with Stephen LaBerge. He was studying psychopsychology at Stanford University when he became fascinated with dreams. And he himself was experiencing a lot of lucid dreams, so he wanted to investigate whether this could be scientifically demonstrated. So he conducted his doctoral research on this, which he completed in 1980 after spending several years recording and analyzing his own dreams. And during a 3-year study, he documented 389 lucid dreams and developed techniques that were designed to intentionally induce lucidity or cause somebody to have a lucid dream. And he developed this method called the mild method, or mnemonic induction of lucid dreams.
Another big word.
Yeah, but an acronym makes it a little easier. And his findings showed that lucid dreamings appeared to be a skill that could be learned, like you were saying earlier.
Mhm.
And it improved with practice rather than it being some kind of rare gift possessed by only, a third of the population? That's
Right.
a big,
Maybe that's why
big
there's
group.
that big percentage of people, like we mentioned earlier, 20 to
Why not?
30% that are able to lucid dream.
They say it's a rare gift, but yet 1/3 can. So I don't know how commonly known it is that you can train yourself. I would say that would be even more rare, but that's just me. So the major challenge was to prove that a dreamer could truly be conscious while sleeping. So the rapid eye movement sleep stage that we talked about is where muscles are mostly paralyzed except the eyes. The eyes remain capable of movement, hence the name of that stage of sleep. So he realized he could provide a communication channel between a sleeping dreamer and researchers in laboratories. So it's like you could communicate to the researchers through your dream state. So before sleep, participants agreed to perform a specific sequence of eye movements, typically left to right, back and forth movement. And they were to do this once they realized they were dreaming. And the researchers would monitor the brain activity, so the EEG and muscle tone eye movements through the polysomnography equipment. So that's little electrodes that can tell when your eyes are moving. It lets the researchers see exactly when somebody has entered a dream state.
Technology never ceases to
Yeah.
amaze me.
So when the participants entered REM sleep, they eventually became lucid, and then they would deliberately move their eyes like they had prearranged. So these signals appeared exactly when they were supposed to, and all physiological signs of REM sleep were also present. So that proved that lucid dreaming is a thing.
Wow.
So it's revolutionary because before these experiments, lucid dreaming was just on the fringes of psychology. So his study proved and became the first widely accepted peer-reviewed evidence that lucid dreaming is a genuine psychological phenomenon. Conscious self-awareness can occur during REM sleep. Dreamers can intentionally communicate with researchers while still dreaming, and dreams can be studied experimentally rather than solely through reports or
Wow.
anecdotes. So this transformed lucid dreaming from controversial claims to legitimate areas of sleep research and opens up the possibility to study altered states of awareness in a scientific manner, which is what we as paranormal investigators would absolutely be all on board for.
And I think that's where you could get meditation that comes in and that altered state of consciousness. And every time I've heard the term in the past, before I really did research on it and knew, I always just thought it was something paranormal, connected to the paranormal rather than the scientific side. And I've even heard people that would say, oh, wait a second, not just paranormal, but does God give us warnings in our dreams? My answer to that, I don't know how you feel, Kathy, but my answer is yes. I have some very unique stories where I would have a dream about something and I would hear guidance to tell me to do something or look somewhere or do something, and it turned out for my benefit. So I do believe that God is the higher power, but I do believe that they can give warnings like that. So whoever your higher power is, pay attention. What are you hearing trying to guide you? Now, lucid dreaming connected to the paranormal, yes, okay? It does have this unique position between the psychology, the neuroscience, all the nerdy stuff. But it's connected to spirituality too, and paranormal belief systems, believe it or not. People throughout history have often thought that these lucid dreams acted as doorways. Remember, we did that episode on portals and vortex. These gateways, these realms are basically doorways to another spiritual place. And so it is important to say, though, that we need to distinguish between what people experience and believe versus what has scientifically been proven. I don't believe everything that's out there on the internet. And just like the same with paranormal, you've got a lot of people that get out there and they, oh, I experienced this, I saw this ghost, I saw that ghost, right? So where does it meet in the middle, but yet have validity on both sides, scientifically and spiritually? I think with this topic, with lucid dreaming, you can have both ways, don't you?
Lucid dreaming itself is an overlap between the awake state and the dream state.
Yeah.
So I guess perhaps you could see an overlap between the spiritual and the scientific.
I think so.
So it's like you're in a vulnerable state, like what you were saying, which
That
you
altered
already
state.
are. But why would the consciousness be necessary when it comes to paranormal communication?
I think our consciousness is connected to our soul.
Right.
And our soul is the essence of who we are.
So we would need to have
You have to
conscious
have it.
awareness in order
Yes.
to be alert to a message that's being given.
Correct. The whole reason why these lucid dreams feel so real and even associated with the paranormal is because individuals who are lucid dreaming feel like they're fully conscious and they experience these very vivid sensory details. They have these emotional reactions to things that happen in their dream.
That's the activation of that amygdala. That's the part of the brain responsible for that.
Right. They remember events, and these events have clarity. Same with spirit visitations. How you tell them apart is true spirit visitation is very clear, has a lot of details. You remember it for days, weeks, years. It's not sent to that short-term memory. And then people also have that experience where they feel like, hey, I've left my body, which is why sometimes it can get confused with astral projecting.
I think the astral projection could easily
fall into the
something
category
that happens when you're in a lucid dreaming state.
Oh, yeah. I could definitely see that.
Like they have to coexist together.
Right. One of the strongest connections between lucid dreaming and the paranormal involves the out-of-body experiences, which we know the OBE, out-of-body, is the sensation where a person's consciousness or their soul actually separates from the physical body for a little while. And like we had talked about in that one episode, tied with a spiritual cord in a sense. So people report they can see themselves floating above their bed, looking down at their sleeping body, traveling to distant locations, passing through walls. And there's that paranormal connection with the dream visitations and lucid dreaming. You've got these encounters with these deceased loved ones that come in and give us these messages when we're asleep. And a lot of times these are messages of guidance. Then you have those non-human entities, things like angels and spirit guides and ancestors, and some people's cases, aliens, but that give those messages as well. So it is connected and tied, lucid dreaming, into the paranormal, for sure.
Okay, so we have some stories out there, people who were questioning whether they had some kind of visit from something paranormal, not necessarily having that experience totally their own interaction within a dream.
Mm-hmm.
So this lucid dreamer decided to test the limits of his dreaming by intentionally shifting his environment to an abandoned, dimly lit Victorian library. Now, that's a way to really entertain yourself at night, right?
I think I might do something a little different, but okay.
Right. But I don't know. I'm an avid reader. I kind of like that idea of a
I am
dimly
too,
lit Victorian library.
Yeah, but I'm thinking what's in the library.
Right.
Things that you can't see.
They're not typically spooky, but okay. So once he materialized the setting, he sat at a massive mahogany desk, fully aware that he was the architect of this world. He summoned a stack of books to read in perfect 4K-like clarity, marveling at how crisp the pages and smell of old parchment felt. So shortly after midnight in his dream, in the actual time frame, an unfamiliar presence disrupted the silence. He heard heavy, echoing footsteps approaching the desk. He willed the presence away, expecting it to go away, but the footsteps only grew louder, which is interesting to me because you're supposed to be able to manipulate your dream when you're lucid dreaming. So he looked up and saw a tall, faceless figure wearing a tattered 19th century coat standing over the desk.
I'm coming for you, boy.
Right. The person dreaming tried to push the entity away with his mind, but his dream powers failed completely. Instead of vanishing, the entity placed a cold, spectral hand directly onto the dreamer's phantom shoulder. The physical sensation felt incredibly real. A chilling, static-like burn that spread through his chest. This dreamer then panicked and tried to force himself awake. He squeezed his eyes shut and commanded his brain to open his eyes in the waking world. This is a technique that he'd used for years. However, he fell straight into sleep paralysis.
Wow.
Which a lot of these stories tend to lead this direction. So I feel this is your consciousness becoming more and more awake and leaving your dream state just like you would for sleep paralysis.
Right.
He woke up in his actual bed, the room shrouded in total darkness. The same faceless entity from his library dream was standing at the foot of his bed, staring down at him. Unable to move a single muscle, he felt a heavy, oppressive weight on his chest.
That's sleep paralysis.
That's your sleep paralysis.
Yeah. That's the old hag syndrome that they report.
He couldn't speak, but he could clearly hear a deep echoing whisper in his mind. So after what felt like an eternity, the room suddenly snapped back to normalcy. His body unfroze. His room was empty, and his heart pounded rapidly against his chest. Even after waking up fully, the tactile memory of the ghost's cold hand remained lingering on his skin for hours.
What?
This left him questioning if he had merely summoned a nightmare.
Yes, he did.
Or was he trapped by something entirely unseen?
If we were to have his backstory, I want to know, were you playing with the Ouija board before you went to sleep or what? Because that to me sounds like that's a spiritual attachment.
But your dreams play out your fears too. So if you had some kind of encounter with somebody in your life during that day or that week that you felt aggression towards, and these things can play out into your dreams. It's your active imagination or your amygdala having an effect on what's going on. And your consciousness brings that reality too.
And I would agree with all that. What has got me scratching my head thinking spiritual attachment is that cold hand that he's feeling like on his leg for hours. That makes no sense unless whatever he did in this dream, he was able to open up a doorway. And again, that was one of the theories, right? You go to these different realms or whatever. Maybe he brought something back with him.
And he shut the door in his hand and it was just stuck there for a while.
Maybe. I don't know. And maybe it's still lingering. I'd like to know from this fella, hey, did you have any sort of strange activity going on around you or in your house after this occurrence? I mean,
I would say,
don't leave us hanging, bro.
yeah. You know how sometimes when you fall asleep and you cut off the circulation to your foot and then you wake up and it's kind of cold for a while? I wonder if that part of his body just had been compressed with the position he was laying in. And
But for hours?
I don't know what his medical
if
history
you were to
is.
get up and you were to move around, you're going to get that blood
Sure.
flowing back again.
You would
and
think, yeah.
It wouldn't make that sensation for hours.
Yeah, not unless he was really immobile for a long period of time.
This is one of those things I need more information to make.
Yeah, and that's one of those situations where the logical explanation is quite a stretch, like you said, with the hours.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know what part of his skin that was, if it was the back of his hand or if it was like on his side of his chest.
Maybe it was his butt cheek.
Where your circulation is better at your core than at your extremities. So, yeah.
Weird.
Interesting.
Okay. Any other stories?
There's a couple of anecdotal stories. If you go to Reddit, there's questions and people give their responses. And one thing that was interesting was this one person had said that they were taking a nap during the day. And they stated, quote, "I was having a lucid dream where there was a bipedal figure chasing me. He was the only thing I couldn't control."
Bigfoot.
Right? Bipedal. Yeah. I woke up. Ooh, hey, there's an episode, right?
Oh, that's coming.
Let's do that.
Yes.
Right. Back to the story. I woke up when he caught me. When I woke up, I couldn't move. Full-on sleep paralysis. The weirdest part was that I was half awake, but I could still see my dream that I was having overlaying my real vision. That's when I saw the bipedal creature standing in my room. ... Not a fan. So.
Not a fan?
Yes. Not a fan. I would not be a fan of that too. But here's the thing. That's a common experience from transitioning from lucid dreaming into sleep paralysis. Now your vision and your eyes are open. So you're receiving visual input in two ways from your dream state and reality. So it looks like this person's in the room. And that's the explanation we usually give to clients that we may have for our paranormal team that have experienced sleep paralysis but said, but there was somebody standing at the foot of my bed.
Yeah.
It's the overlapping with your dream, and it makes it appear to be in the room with you.
True.
So, very interesting, and interesting to see these online stories and the trending and how there's similarities in these experiences.
Right. Like they say, you can't believe everything that you read online. But some things, I'm not saying that it didn't happen to them, but I'm just saying there are a lot of interesting things that's out there. Now, would I believe stuff 100%? Probably not, but interesting.
Even if that story was a made-up story, it's based around fact because you would have to know that overlap and details about sleep paralysis and transition from lucid dreaming into that state to be able to make up a story like that.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
So, what are you going to do tonight, Christy?
I'm going to go to sleep. I am. I'm going to go to sleep tonight when all you guys are closing your eyes. Maybe you'll enter this world that your mind creates. And if you become aware, if you realize that you're dreaming, you'll have a choice. Should you go explore? Are you going to try to control your dream? Or are you going to look deeper?
Don't forget to ask what the date is.
Oh, that's right.
If you encounter somebody on the street, ask them what the date is.
Ask the date. See if they can give it to you. That's another weird phenomenon out there. But if in your dream something does look back at you,
remember, you're still asleep.
Right? Or are you?
Good night, Jill. So you can find us wherever you enjoy your podcasts, and thank you for listening.
Because the paranormal is the normal.
Not yet understood.